Hello everybody and welcome to the Gamers Waypoint channel. And yes, this video is in English. Why? Because I can, apparently. So yes, this video is a little bit different and it's very special for me for several reasons. First of all, this is the first video that is going to be made in English, and the real reason is that I really hope that this will help the channel grow a little bit and eventually reach the targeted audience that I have in my mind. And also there is something that I see in my YouTube. There is particular video that is very interesting for people from abroad, and it's about overclocking, and I share a lot of wisdom and knowledge for something that is not very common. And yeah, it's in Bulgarian, so nobody understands anything. So yeah, I hope this will change in the future. The second reason why this video is special for me is because I'm making a build for one of my best friends. So this is going to be a special computer for a special someone, and also because of several financial reasons. Most of the parts here are bought abroad, they are imported, and because this is my first time I'm going to touch AM5 platform, I'm kinda in no man's land zone where if something is wrong, good luck, bro. And last but not least, this video will include music from a fellow YouTuber. His name, and I hope I pronounce this right, is Oscuro. He's making chill music that I really like, and I hope I'm gonna help his channel grow a little bit too. Without further ado, I'm not going to get in deep details about all the parts that I've chosen, but still I'm going to give my reasoning for the choices that I've made. And the most obvious one is the graphics card, which is from the previous gen. It's the 6800 XT from PowerColor. It's the Red Dragon card, and at the moment when we bought this card, there was no news about the 7700 XT and 7800 XT, which at least on paper sound interesting, but yeah, there is also some strange things about them, like the price of the 7700 XT and the name of the 7800 XT. We'll see when they go on sale, but for now, this card is my choice for the budget. And the build itself is not going to be 100% gaming orientated. It's not going to be 100% productivity orientated. It's just home computer that my friend is going to use for whatever he wants. And yeah, if you want to play games in the future, at least 16 gigabytes is better. And yeah, you can have a little bit of compromise with the ray tracing with this card compared to the Nvidia counterparts. And if you want to make some kind of video editing, then again this card is a little bit of compromise. But in the end of the day, you can wait a little bit longer for your video to be encoded, but you don't want to wait a little bit longer for the next frame in your gameplay, right? At the moment when we bought this card, it was 540 euro, and like almost every other part here, this is imported, and I have the facture for it from the Netherlands. And the reason is because we have very strange prices here in Bulgaria. And what I mean by strange is that you can buy this for 540 euro in the Netherlands. Here, for the almost same amount of money, you can have the 3060 Ti or the 4060 Ti, which is actually even worse as a product compared to 3060. And both of these cards are going for 510 euro, and for like 560 euro you can have the 6800 non-XT, which is a tier lower. And if you want to buy the exact same card here in Bulgaria, you have to pay like 685 euro or something like this at the moment. So This is ridiculous, doesn't really make sense, and this applies for all the parts here. We only bought the case, the power supply, and the water cooling in Bulgaria for the sole reason they are big and heavy and they really don't like airplanes. That's it. All other parts are imported and the pricing is better or really great compared to what we have here. Next in line will be the motherboard, because this is the fundament, and yeah, the platform itself is interesting. We chose AM5, and again with the same reason as the graphics card. I really don't like when big companies get complacent because they have good products, and this applies to Intel, to Nvidia, and the new generation of Nvidia video cards are like meh. Also, even though I think 12 and 13 gen of Intel CPUs are great and very interesting products, I don't have a personal nuclear plant for the electricity that they need. And in the end, LGA 1700 is dead, you know, it's the end of the road for this. If you want to be able to upgrade in the future, you have to change the motherboard, while AM5 just came out, and we hope we're going to have several generations of CPUs that would be able to get inside this motherboard. So yeah, AM5 would be, and the MSI B650 Tomahawk is like great mid-range motherboard. I like MSI in the past 2 or 3 generations just because I don't hear a lot of negative things for their hardware or the firmware or the BIOS. You have integrated Wi-Fi on this motherboard, you have a lot of USB ports, basically very rich I/O, which is kind of good. You have great VRM that can handle this CPU and the next CPU and the next CPU, unless you really want to go for the highest core count CPU available, but I don't think this is going to happen. And the CPU itself is the other very controversial part, is the 7700 XT. It's not X3D, it doesn't have the 3D cache from AMD, and I chose this first of all because of the price. This was very cheap and it was like 355 euro at the moment when we bought it. So it's way cheaper than the 7800 X3D. It's still 8 cores, it has high frequency compared to the X3D models, and this is a part that is relatively easy to be changed in the future. You just take out the cooling, take out the CPU, boom, the new CPU is in, and this is going to be viable for very long time. And in the future, when you need to upgrade, it's going to be the biggest and most important part to be upgraded, but also one of the easiest, just like the graphics card. So this is a balanced machine that is going to be good for almost every kind of work that you throw it, and it's going to be good for a long period of time and easy to be upgraded. And keeping upgrades in mind, the power supply is just 850 watts, but yeah, it can handle a little bit more in the future, but the rate with which the technology is progressing makes it very hard to think ahead, because this card is like, I don't know, 350 watts, and 4 years from now, when you actually want to upgrade it, maybe you would have 1700 watts video card, and yeah, how can I plan this ahead at the moment without going crazy in the budget? The other things are small. We have 2 SSDs from Samsung, both of them are 980 Pro. We have 2 terabytes for games and basically all the storage that you want to have, and we have another 500 gigabytes for the OS, for the Windows installment. We have the sweet spot, actually, the sweet spot 600 megahertz RAM from G.skill. This is the Trident Z. It says it's AMD Expo, so basically this is fine-tuned for AMD systems, and it's only CL30, so it has high frequency and low latency, and this translates into performance. We're going to stack everything in this Be Quiet case. This is the pure base 500DX or something. It has very nice airflow and it's very spacious, so we can fit all of these parts, especially the card is very big, the cooling is very big. And speaking about the cooling, this is the pure loop. It's 360 millimeters, so yeah, the way I see it is going to be able to go in front of the case with this RGB fans that it has, and the case itself has a little bit of RGB, so it's going to be nice for from the outside. And yeah, it's going to be one very great machine in the end. And with this, I think the reasoning is enough, and I'm going to start the build. And so it has been exactly 1 week since I finished the build, and I'm back with my brief final thoughts and conclusions about it. And the first thing I want to share is that I was overconfident that I'm not going to have any troubles with the MSI motherboard on the AM5 platform, but it wasn't the case. I got blue screen of death when I wanted to initially install Windows on the computer, and after that I couldn't get the Expo profile away from the BIOS, and I thought, well, I have memory compatibility issue. So I searched the internet and I got confirmation of my thoughts, and then it was an easy fix actually. I just downloaded and updated the BIOS from version 16 to version 17, which was released during August. And since this moment I didn't have any more issues with the computer. I installed Windows, I installed games, I played games, I ran benchmarks, and everything is top-notch experience from the BIOS install until now. The second thing that I want to share is that I thought maybe I should change the thermal paste, but then I decided against this. I said to myself, well, I'm not going to go an extra mile just to check if I'm going to get anything out of this, because it's the way that this platform is intended to work by the manufacturer. And they decided it's okay to run at 95 or even 100 degrees, so let's just let the CPU go there and keep the maximum frequency that it has depending on the cooling solution. And in games I'm constantly staying at 5.5 gigahertz, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to change the thermal paste. But what makes sense is to flirt a little bit with the BIOS again, and I decided that I'm going to show you how exactly to get different settings for the PBO. But basically you go in the BIOS and then you go to the overclocking module, and then you tell the motherboard, look bro, I'm an expert and I know what I'm doing, so you should just enable this and then go into the PBO or Precision Boost Overdrive settings, and then you choose the target temperature for the CPU. In my case I choose 90 degrees, and then in the GFX curve optimizer you just offset the voltage of the CPU with negative 20 millivolts. In my case you can try different settings, but for 90 degrees 20 millivolts should be good for almost every CPU from the Ryzen 7000 series. And that's it. Then you go back to Windows and then you rerun your benchmarks, and as you can see in Cinebench R33 there is virtually no difference. It's within the margin of error, and I actually gained 100 points with this new settings in the BIOS. And yeah, the CPU temperatures are sticking to 90 instead of 95, but the frequency is almost the same. It's still around 5150 MHz for the duration of the test. In games there is no change at all. Neither Red Dead Redemption or Cyberpunk 2077, which I chose to use for the benchmarking, noticed that I have changed something in the BIOS. So yeah, if you want, you can extend the life of your CPU a little bit with this setting and have a little bit less temperatures on the CPU, which means a little bit less heat and a little bit less noise from the machine, and that's it. If you have very CPU heavy workload that really needs all the power that the BIOS can give, then maybe you will see some difference, but it's going to be very little, so this is a good setting that you can apply. Next, I wanted to try something that my computer doesn't have as an option, and this is changing the settings of the resizable bar, which for the modern systems like this one is always enabled by default. I disabled it and I rerun the tests, so Red Dead Redemption 2 sees no difference, almost no difference, and in Cyberpunk I had a little bit of difference in the negative direction. So yeah, what I will do is turn the resizable bar option back on in the BIOS and leave it like this for the rest of its life, which is, I hope, at least 10 years. We'll see about that. And the last thing I tried is to manually overclock the GPU using the MSI Afterburner. So I just cranked up the power limit to the maximum, or maybe this is voltage offset for the AMD cards, I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, I just cranked it to the maximum and then dialed plus 80 MHz on the core and plus 100 MHz on the memory, and rerun the tests again, and again Red Dead Redemption sees no difference or negligible difference, and Cyberpunk gains a little bit, like a couple of frames with both ray tracing and without ray tracing. But again, you just ask more from your GPU and you apply more power and more voltage, and this means more heat, and this means more noise just for a couple of frames. So this is a modern system with high-end GPU, and even though the GPU is from the previous gen, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Just keep it to the default unless you really need a couple of frames to get smooth experience inside the game and the settings that you have chosen. I know that Red Dead Redemption 2 and Cyberpunk 2077 are not the most interesting gaming tests, especially the synthetic benchmarks that have been included inside, but this was easy for me. I didn't have too much time to waste on this machine and the testing. I just wanted to make sure that everything runs as intended, and I wanted to see if any of the changes that I make have any difference in the performance, and that's it. But the current interesting game that is used for benchmarking, and it's basically one of the most anticipated AAA games of this year, is Starfield. And Starfield is bundled with this GPU, which we imported from the Netherlands. And here in the facture, I have promotional code that I have to enter in one given website with registration and so on. But basically, I'm gaining €80 for free on this bundle, and I basically have a present from AMD because I chose their GPU for this system. So not only we are saving €150 from the price of the card itself when we buy it outside of Bulgaria, but we also get this nice present. So good job, Bulgarian PC part companies. Great, I'm very thankful that you exist. Anyways, I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you really liked the music that was included. Again, I'm going to say this is from Oscuro. It's great. You can check his profiles in the video descriptions. I'm going to leave links for the YouTube channel and Spotify channel that he has, and I hope you're going to follow him and yeah, just support him, because I think he's making great music, and I'm very thankful that he allows me to use these tracks in my video. So good luck, bro, and to everyone else, see you next time.